Hey there guys, I'm Vile Self, and today I'm bringing you my review of Killzone Shadows Fall for the PS4. Now I'm just going to come out and say that I've never played a Killzone game before, haven't played any of the Vita games, PSP, PS3, nothing at all. This franchise is new to me with this installment, and this is going to be my review on it. I'm going to set it down to 5 sort of different topics. I'm going to talk about the gameplay, I'm going to talk about the story, and I'm going to talk about the graphics, the multiplayer, the overall presentation, and then I'm going to give a final score out of 10. So before I purchased this game, I read a little bit about previous Killzone games, and the reputation they seem to have gotten is that they're sort of clunky shooters with washed out color schemes, kind of like a lot of black and grays and browns and reds, and not really any vibrancies to them. You know, nothing really pops out in these games, and the controls were always known to be kind of clunky and stuff like that. But I also read that this Killzone was the the brightest and the most colorful and the smoothest overall of any of the Killzones in the franchise. So I was a little optimistic about it. So I bought the game and I played through it. And starting off with the gameplay, I got to admit the gameplay is a little clunky. Aiming is a little slow, moving is a little slow, and there were certain parts where I kind of couldn't move and wasn't sure why I was stuck. I was kind of stuck on like something that was on the ground, and in that sense it was a little frustrating, but it wasn't even something that you can kind of get used to. As you guys know, if you watch my channel, I'm a big Call of Duty fan. Call of Duty is one of the smoothest games out there. It's comparing it to Call of Duty, it's very clunky. It's definitely not as smooth. You can't maneuver around as good. And when there's a lot of enemies on the screen at once, it can get frustrating because even though you have the skills to take out 5 or 6 guys at a time, it's slow in the fact when you're trying to move from target to target and get around and get to cover and stuff like that. I found the game to be very frustrating in that sense. So the gameplay, I found, it was playable. It wasn't totally awful to the point where I didn't want to play it anymore. But when you're coming off a game like playing Call of Duty Ghosts, which is an extremely smooth, gameplay experience, and you go to a game like Killzone, you definitely feel it. You definitely notice that it's a little inferior in that way. But nonetheless, it still plays well. I mean, you still get what you need to get done, and I'm not hating on it because of that. But there were some flaws. You can tell that the developers kind of struggle with the maneuverability a little bit, and you might even see in some of my gameplay here how it's a little clunky, how I kind of move around corners and how the camera kind of just shifts while I turn around and stuff like that. But anyways, that's just my opinion. People could have different opinions, I don't know. On to the next part, regarding the story and the plot. I'm just gonna be honest, I got lost. I couldn't follow the story too well. I mean, it starts off with with you as a kid, and your dad dies, and then you get taken in by some guy. He becomes your mentor, and you kind of get raised as a soldier, and you got these Hellgas and these and the humans or whoever is on the other side. It was really hard for me to follow, man. The dialogue is not the greatest, and yeah, it's just one of those things where I was just enjoying playing it more than following it. So there's not much good I can say about the plot. The ending was very disappointing. It was kind of a weird twist ending, which I didn't quite get. But I mean, that's just me. Other people are probably gonna have different opinions on it. Maybe people who have played the other Killzone games would be able to follow this one better. Maybe that's why I didn't get it so much, because I didn't play the other Killzone games. Even though I did read that you don't have to be up on the Killzone story in order to play this game. It was supposed to be a totally new chapter kind of thing. But either way, the story, it just didn't captivate me. It wasn't something like again, comparing it to Call of Duty, the Ghost story is something that really captivated me, and I was able to follow it. And stories like other games like The Last of Us obviously is a good example of a good story in a game that you can just follow and play along with. This just didn't have that. This just seemed like one level to the next, shooting bad guys, doing little odd things here and there, and that was about it. As for graphics, I have to say that this is probably one of the nicest looking games I've ever played. I've seen better looking games, maybe on a PC, but as for console games, this is probably the nicest looking game I've ever played. based on certain things, like the textures. This game has amazing textures in, you know, all the surfaces and the materials and all that sort of stuff. The shadowing is amazing, the lighting is amazing, the game looks really, really nice. The only downfall with it is that it's a sci-fi game, and since it's a sci-fi game, you can't really compare it to anything in real life. Again, I'll compare it to Call of Duty. In Call of Duty, it is a fictional game, but it's based on factual sort of elements. So there's real people, there's real guns, there's real environments, there's real, you know, everything in there is based off something that's real. So when you're looking at it, you can compare it to its real life counterpart and base, you know, your judgment on exactly how real it actually looks. For example, in this part right here, I mean, there's nothing in real life that looks like any of this, so how do you really compare it to real life? Yeah, like the metal looks like metal, and you know, the rain looks like rain, but it's just one of those things where since it's sci-fi, it loses a believability factor to it, in my opinion anyway. Like I said, people are just gonna have different opinions about it, but even though the game looks absolutely gorgeous, its believability and its realism in that sense is lacking. But I think that's just basically because of the genre, and you can't really take away from it because of that, because you know, there's a huge crowd for sci-fi genre, and you know, they're gonna love these graphics and stuff like that. I don't know, you know, didn't play Halo too much or anything like that, but I feel like this game's an answer to Halo. I think Killzone series is, you know, kind of Sony's answer to Halo. It definitely doesn't stand up to par with Halo gameplay wise, but graphically I think it surpasses that. Then again, we have not seen a next-gen Halo game yet, so it is pretty unfair to judge it that way as well. But either way, graphically, this game is remarkably beautiful. There is several times where I just sat there and went wow and just stared at the graphics. Just stood there and looked around basically at the environments, and you know, was in awe at the amount of detail and the quality of the graphics, like I said, the shadowing and the lighting and all that kind of stuff. It was very well done, and the game plays very well. There's no you know, frame rate drops or anything like that. It's consistently smooth, and for that I think the graphics were really well done. The multiplayer, I only played a few matches. I couldn't quite get into it too much. Just like the single player, it's a little clunky, it's a little slower paced. Like I said, I like that fast-paced action that Call of Duty brings. You know, some people swear by Killzone multiplayer. It wasn't personally for me. As for overall presentation, I have to say, you know, this game, it does do a decent job. It is a fun game to play, but I wasn't aching to come play it every time I got home from work like I am other games. You know, I was taking a few days off here and there. During the clan wars on Call of Duty, I wasn't playing any Killzone, and I wasn't really missing it too much. And that kind of says a lot. You know, when you miss a game, you know the game's good. You know what I mean? If you're not missing it, then there's something wrong with that game. So I don't know what it is really, but there was something that just didn't make me want to, you know, really come back and finish this game. I kind of, you know, it took me, like, I just finished it yesterday or the day before, and I mean, I got it on launch day, so it took me that long to finally beat the game, just playing it for an hour here and there. But anyways, my overall score for Killzone Shadows Fall on the PS4 is going to be perhaps a disappointing 5.5 out of 10. The reason I give it a 5.5 out of 10 is because it does have some strong points in the graphics, and you know, the gameplay isn't that bad. The multiplayer has some potential, and it could be fun to get into, but I just have, you know, other things I'd rather be spending my time on than ranking up in Killzone multiplayer. The story, like I said, I got lost in it, but that could have been just me. I can't really say that would happen to everybody, but that's what it is, guys. 5.5 is my score. This game, in my opinion, is not a must-play. I mean, if you can borrow it off a friend or something like that, by all means, check it out. But I will bet that you'll probably give it back before you even finish playing it. That's just me, guys. I hope you like this review. Please like, favorite, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos from me in the future. Vile Self, out.